Greetings, everyone. We are live.
Hey.
All right.
Live to the world.
How's it going?
Hello, Teddy.
Hello.
How you doing?
Pretty
Mr.
good.
Mike.
Hi, I'm sharing. Hold on.
You're going.
So I thought Mike and I made it clear to you guys that this was Beard Day. We were all supposed to grow beards.
I know. What's
that? It's just not visible right now.
I forgot. Sorry.
I'm not even sure what that means.
I have an innie beard.
So I'll take a quick second as one of the guitar player guys here to the non-guitar player guy to introduce Julie Cord from Blue Mouth Promotions, who is her and her brother Rodney do amazing things for us artists and really support the music industry and help us get out there and play weird music for lovely people. And so thank you, Julie, for putting this together and inviting us to come hang out and talk all things music and take some questions and all that sort of stuff.
Well,
Yes.
I appreciate everybody being here.
Hey, Julie.
Yay!
Happy
No
new
poor Rodney's out there somewhere. So
Happy New Year!
Happy new kitties. Are your kitties in the room with you?
the kitties are chasing each other all over everywhere.
Okay, good.
As kitties do.
I'm so happy you adopted new kitties.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, well, I thought I would just, we're going to, I'm sure, get questions coming in, but I thought I would just kind of kick it off with some really complicated two-part question of, one, you know, this ought to take like an hour and a half for you to answer.
Good.
When was the first moment that you really realized that music was the career that you wanted to pursue above all else? And since we're in this very odd time, and a lot of people are struggling to maintain normalcy in this sort of weird shutdown thing. Teddy, you've been shut down for what, over a month now, yeah?
Yep, just about exactly a month.
Yeah, and Mike, I saw you just a couple of days before things got really weird, and
Yeah.
Andy, I know you've been through the ringer. Travis, you're out there in the shutdown.
Yeah.
I think most of us are now. So how are you finding it to try and be creative, or what sort of projects and things are you working on now, or are you able to find that path in this new realm of reality that we're in? So how'd you get started? When did you know? And are you able to work with that now?
Where would you like to
Should we
start?
all answer at the same time?
Yes, all
Talk at once.
And
Yay.
we start
Go.
and we start at the top left and then go clockwise.
if we're all looking at the
Clockwise
same.
it is.
So I think that would be me. This question came up the other night when we were doing a TLB Q&A, and I told a quick story about Billy Joel did a talk at a college a few years ago on Long Island to a bunch of music students, and somebody stood up and said, I'm right at that crux where I'm trying to decide, how do you know that you should do this route versus go to college and get a regular job or something like that. And Billy Joel said, well, since you're asking me, you already know the answer. And so that's kind of the take that I've always had was I never really had a choice. And I don't like to put my baggage on other people, but I think I won't necessarily use the word broken, but there's something different about all of us in a way that would.
I'll use the word broken.
Okay. Well, Mike and I are both broken, which is why we're growing the facial hair. But
Yeah.
but yeah,
Cover up the cracks.
I don't. For me, it was never really like a choice. I started playing music because it was something that allowed me to have. It was basically I was able to create an environment for myself with it, like a mystical environment where you could play something and all of a sudden you were in that musical environment that made you feel a certain way, right? And so as a child, that enabled me to, take myself other places, and I never really stopped doing that. So I don't think I really had a choice. I never really thought of a career. It's clearly, I kind of just ended up. I kept doing it until that's what I was doing. So
Right.
I guess that's my answer. So Mike, I think it's your turn.
Yeah, Julie, we'll all cover the first question, and then we'll make the circle again with your second question. How's that?
That works.
Okay. Well, I have a feeling Andy and I might have similar tales in terms of when we first thought we might need to do this, and I think in both of our cases it's probably Beatles related, because that was the first time. I've always loved music as a kid, and was obsessed with trying to make up songs and singing and stuff like that. But I think it was the Beatles that really sort of showed me that there was this magical quality that could be over and above all those other concerns, and all of a sudden it just felt like, wow, I thought life was this, and now I see that it can be this. It just everything seemed to be potentially far beyond anything I could have imagined.
You say as a kid, at what age?
The obsession started when I was probably around 5 or 6, and this is mid 60s, and I had a teenage sister, an older sister, who was just the right demographic to be totally nailed by the all the mania of it. So she had all the posters and she had all the records, and I later on, as the Beatles started to get too weird for her,
they got mustaches around.
Yeah, exactly. Facial hair entered the picture.
Facial hair.
Yeah. The last record she had was Rubber Soul. Everything beyond that was just too far out. So I picked up the mantle from that point on. But really, it was my parents who sort of recognized before I did that I was supposed to do music, because for my 7th birthday they got me an electric organ, and I looked at it and knew instantly that this was the right thing for me. So it was kind of when I saw that, and then combined with the love for music and just the excitement about the Beatles and everything to do with the scene of popular music in the 60s, that was kind of the catalyzing moment for me.
And how great the parents were on board to start with, which is...
Well, yeah, and it was just real perceptive on there. That they just kind of sensed that it made sense for me, and it was literally that switch on moment where I saw the organ and I walked up to it and I could see the melodies on the thing, and in my recollection I started playing Painted Black right away. Wow. So already the Beatles versus Stones thing was raging in my head.
It very identical in certain ways. I was the youngest of 4. But my first tune on my first plastic guitar when I was 5 was "I'm Not Your Stepping Stone." It was a good one stringer. I could go. It was before Smoke on the Water, folks. So that was a smoke one. I had my older brother Mark was 12 years old when I was born in 1963, and he from Downbeat 1 bought all the British invasion stuff. It was a lot of Beatles. It was as much Dave Clark 5, but my brother John was into the Monkees, etc. But that was definitely the Beatles. That was the foundation for the passion of music. And like I say, I had a toy plastic guitar from the age of 5, so that was already kind of happening. And it was just really a steady. I'm not sure what that feedback is here. Are you guys getting a hum at all in your headphones?
I hear a little hum.
It was coming when Teddy came on.
Might just be my tinnitus. I don't know. No, but so that indeed was the foundation, and I guess as the older brothers also had a couple of a Silvertone. There was a standard issue Silvertone acoustic guitar that was in everybody's house back in the 60s. So I would dabble in that when they weren't around. I would take the guitar and try to play a few chords here and there. And I was just teaching myself along the way. And it was, then getting into 70s rock when that was happening. I remember having Every Picture Tells a Story by Rod Stewart on the record player, and then playing a D chord and going, that's the same chord. I hadn't quite made that correlation yet that I could figure that out somehow.
Nice.
So it started happening, and I was in a very fortunate situation like Mike, where my mom never discouraged me, but she saw that I had ability that I was developing very naturally, and always just encouraged me, whatever it is I wanted to do with my life, just go for it 100%. And here I was by 13. I've got, every magazine that had Kiss pictures in it. I was buying the magazine and putting them on my wall. So I was collecting beer cans that kids did in the 70s. I wasn't a drinker or anything, but it was like collection of beer cans, Kiss pictures on all 4 walls. And Mom was still like, yeah, And so it was 1976 and Kiss came to play. was Bob Seger and Artful Dodger and Kiss on the Destroyer tour. So it was my first concert. I was already in my first band, and I went and saw this spectacle, and I just kind of, if there was a moment of, I'm definitely doing this, that was it. But also similar to Travis, where then post that, there was never a real plan. It was just a matter of pursuing the love of doing that. And it was very much from, it was my safe place to be. It was not that I had necessarily a bad childhood, but I spent a lot of time by myself. And that was the happy place. Music always was that emotional outlet, a place for energy, a place to experience sadness. It could give all of that to you, and to be able to be part of that, play the music with other people, and it just seemed. And I remember my first gig was my own 8th grade graduation dance, and they told me that I was going to make $25 or whatever it was. I'm just like, this is unthinkable. How could you possibly? So I still haven't made that much money at a gig yet since then. So I kind of peaked early at 25.
Being able to buy a slice of pizza back then was like,
yeah, that was, but it's still that. I don't, I wish I had a better direction as far as where the career's going, but I keep pursuing it. I love it still as much, if not more, than I ever did. So fortunately, that still drives it. We have to all think as business people at this point, but still very much the antithesis of why I do what I do.
Just to interject real quick, Andy, I'll say, because you and I have done a lot together, I will say that the rule that you and I both follow of doing what you think is the right thing to do does tend to always pay off in the long run. Like, I just think that's the right way to go. You follow your heart,
See, and I there was some decisions along my career path where it wasn't necessarily based on that. It was based on what I thought, this might be the best career or monetary thing. So at a younger age, when that was the guiding force, I would learn eventually that, shit, okay, that was not the right thing to do. I should have gone more towards instinctually what felt more resonant with me. You know what I mean? That's something. Right. But I think that's something that's part of the life education, isn't it? That's what we all have to go through. We have to experience those good and bad decisions, and that informs how we, hopefully continue on a better path that makes better sense for us as peeps.
Andy, just so you know, there's someone else on here on the feed who said his first concert was also Kiss on the Destroyer tour in '76.
See you there, changing lives and ruining kids forever. But then I met Teddy Kumpel at the University of Miami, and we were roommates. Some people may not know that.
Nice.
Right now,
it's
nice segue too there, man.
Thin strip of space but we used to share lots of things back in the day. On to you, Teddy. Tell stories.
All right. Well, I unfortunately did not. Well, I didn't have quite as good a childhood as you guys did, but it was filled with music, and it was definitely a refuge for sadness and anger and everything. And I think I wrote my first song when I was about 4, and my mom helped me with it. My mom was an amazing classical piano player, church organist, music.
What was it called? What was the name of the song?
It was called "I Just Want to Be Free."
Oh, at 4 years old, you were so repressed.
It was a problem. I needed to be free, and I am now.
Wow. Okay, good. Could you regale us with a bit of it at some point, maybe later?
It's in melodic minor. I just want to be free, F-R-E-E-B.
You can spell it for?
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Nice.
That was it. That's the whole song.
That's good. That's all you need. That's all you need.
You could jam on that for a couple hours, right?
Yeah. If you had a choir band,
Coltrane on that, yeah.
But we only had like 5 records in the house. We had Mahalia Jackson, the Oliver Twist soundtrack, Miles Davis Plus 19, Tom Lehrer, Beatles Revolver,
and Revolver, of course,
and George Carlin. And
jeez, that's a fantastic place to start.
I know.
No whipped cream and other delights. What's wrong?
What's that?
No whipped cream and other delights.
And then I was just relied on the library. Like when I was 6, 7, 8, I didn't have any friends who listened to music in my neighborhood. It was all like, I don't know. It was a really sheltered, weird. I call it the university ghetto where I grew up. It's like a bunch of kids. They were all just shoegazers. Anyway, I go to the library, just pick out random records and listen to them. And Weather Report, Heavy Weather was one of the first ones that I checked out. Beach Boys, Endless Summer.
Ooh,
a whole bunch of stuff. Just turned myself onto them. I just found them.
That's cool.
And then I had a really great neighbor who was this guy, Pete Munch, who played drums in a rock band. And him and his sister and I had a band together. And we used to go watch them play all the time. And it was incredibly inspiring to see how kind they were to each other and how they helped each other get better and how they rehearsed. We saw the nuts and bolts of it because we'd sit there every day and watch them play. Nice. And that's when I think I realized that I wanted to do it. But there was also another time when I got this book by Tommy Tedesco called For Guitar Players Only. You guys must have checked that out, right?
I remember looking at that with you on the dorm floor.
Maybe, right?
With Teddy Castellucci.
Yes.
We were all staring at that book, yeah.
I read that when I was 12, and I announced to my parents about a week later that I was going to be a studio guitar player.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Tommy Tedesco was the guy who...
yeah, because I was like, he played on Three's Company, and I love that. And he played on
Bonanza, man.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
That's pretty happening.
Yeah, so I told them that, and they didn't take it very well. They were not happy.
Oh.
My mom was really supportive, kind of weird. My dad was like, I'm not supporting the arts, and stormed out of the room.
Oh, no.
And then he never came to one of my concerts ever in my entire life.
Oh, dude.
Heartbreaking, but, it fueled a part of me that I have to be thankful for now.
That is what makes us who we are, right?
Edginess.
Fueled the whole album, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. That's right.
So a theme here, because someone asked in the chat, what was your first concert that you went to see?
My first real concert was Glenn Campbell at Westbury Music Fair in 1975.
In the round Glenn spinning. Nice.
Yeah, you know that place. You got my sister backstage there.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
Mine was Santana in 1973.
Wow.
On the Welcome tour.
Wow.
And there were two bands opening. The very first band that played that night. So technically, the first band I ever saw live was Journey. On their so this would be the first lineup pre Steve Perry with Ainsley Dunbar on drums.
Greg Rowley. Wow.
Yeah, and then Sons of Champlin.
Wow.
And then Santana.
Good show.
So I was 11, 12, something like that.
Trav?
I'm going to do a quick shout out to my dad, who, by the way, he's turning 80 today.
Wow. Oh my gosh! Happy birthday!
Yeah. So I think he's watching right now. Happy birthday, Dad! But my first concert, I don't have a clear recollection of which one it was. It was either the Beach Boys, or it was Kenny Rogers. Both. My dad took me to both of those.
Wow. Both cool.
Eclectic, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. Should we try to sing Happy Birthday in time together?
Let's see where we're at. Yeah.
Well,
2, 3, 4.
Happy birthday to you.
What's your dad's name?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear
Dennis. You said Dennis?
Dennis. Happy birthday to you.
I'm a little frightened that at the end of it you kind of ended up together, but you didn't start out that way. Aren't you musicians?
Oh, we need a critic. Oh, is that what's going on, please?
I'm just going to shout out to Christopher Boulay and say, Christopher, I've seen your question, so we'll get to it.
It's all guitar players. We don't have a timekeeper.
We don't.
Well, so what are you guys up to? Are you finding ways to make a path in this? What are you up to? What kind of projects or things are you working on or trying to work on? Or
are we continuing in clock?
Sure.
Yep.
Well, interesting for me. Last time I saw all of you guys, we left the NAMM show, and I've basically been hibernating ever since because I left there and went and had my wisdom teeth out. So I was already geared up for this.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I have all my soft foods, canned foods, and I was ready to go. But so I've been working on new Travis Larson Band material, and that was kind of ongoing anyway. But we were planning on doing stuff in April and then July. So that's the stuff that got shut down. But so I'm just continuing to work on the next Travis Larson Band material for that record, which will hopefully be out, probably, I'm guessing, early next year. And we'll just wait until we can actually really tour on it.
Yeah.
And a quick side note, too, I was going to mention Teddy is the one guy here that I haven't toured with and I've known the least amount of time. but a beautiful guy. And when I very, very first made contact with him, I had a broken iPad, and he was all over it. He like sent me an iPad of his, and then when I was figuring out all this www streaming business, he was the first guy to say, if you need to do any testing of this or need any help, call me. So, I know, obviously, I know Mike and Andy very well, but Teddy, I could not have a more favorite group of people to be hanging with right now. And
oh man,
I got you, Travis. I got you.
Thank you, Travis.
Yes,
absolutely. And did I miss a question? Was there something I was supposed to say?
What was the question again?
What are we working on?
What you doing?
Oh yeah, so I'm working on a new album. Mike?
Well, there were some existing projects. One of which is kind of a secret, so I'm going to keep it that way. But you'll hear more about that later. Another one is the thing that just came out, which is MFTJ, the collaboration with Scott Shore. That came out just about a month ago. And then there's another album that's in the works with a local band named Back to the Garden, where we were getting together every once in a while, and I wouldn't have time to write anything, so we would just show up in the studio and I would write a song on the spot, and they'd learn it, and we'd record it, and we've got 11 tracks in the works through that method. So there's at least 2 projects. More than 2 that I'm going to be working on, continuing to move forward now that I'm home. And I have just now gotten a new Pro Tools rig at home, thanks to some very generous people on GoFundMe. Thank you. And I'm coming to terms with how to work the rig on my own, because I've for many years now just sat in the back of the room with a wonderful engineer named Mike Harris saying, do this, do that, make it sound like this, do this. And now I don't have that luxury anymore, so I'm figuring out how to work things. And I'm just going to, as soon as I feel like I have my sea legs on this stuff, I'm just going to start recording a lot of music. And it looks like, unfortunately, we all have plenty of time coming up to do lots of creating. And that's the silver lining, I guess, is that there's going to be a lot less interruptions, a lot less distractions, and I'll just be writing and recording like crazy, and I'm going to be using probably Twitch and Patreon and Bandcamp to present a lot of new material in the coming however many months it's about to be.
Yeah.
I will selfishly say, yay!
Yeah.
It is that has been the recurring theme throughout all this. Not only as musicians, we're having to, some of us, get into things technical that we haven't really had the skills for before. I'm kind of like Mike, where I really prefer being the creative and having people take care of technical. But and we do kind of, when we're home, we tend to be these same people anyway. We're always just kind of working and doing our thing. So some things aren't that different. I just selfishly have very happily have my wife and son home kind of stuck with me. So on the personal level, it's been kind of great because we're doing way more things together. Every meal is cooked, together every day, whereas we just rarely did that. It'd be just takeout for convenience. But musically, it's been real productive for me. I've done a couple of those collaborative videos where everybody does a track at their place and you put it all together and put it out. So I've done a few of those, and that's a lot of fun. There's an ongoing record with the Timmons band that we're working on. I did a track today for this record that Matt Bissonette and Greg Bissonette and I are doing together. It's a project called the Red Coats that'll hopefully come out later this year. It's a very fun kind of, Matt's an incredible writer and singer as well as bass player. So we're having fun doing that. And but I'm continuing to do, I have a subscription guitar website, lesson site called guitarexperience.net. And that's been a good platform for me to document all my tunes, and I do a playthrough of them, and then there's like 2 hours of tutorial that goes with each song. I have a guy in Brazil that transcribes everything, and that's been a great additional income stream throughout all this. But also now I've been doing some live shows as we're learning about the streaming and that type of thing. And I'm Facebook friends with a guy named Jarrett Reddick, don't know if you guys know this band called Bowling for Soup.
Yeah.
Really cool kind of, I call them somewhere between Weezer and Fountains of Wayne. Kind of, they have a shtick, it's tongue in cheek, but they're just really good cheap trick power pop tunes, right? So I kept seeing Jarrett going, yeah, I'm doing 2 shows 3 days a week on this thing called Stage It. I thought I need to, I don't know Jarrett that well, but I reached out to him online. Says, yeah, it's a real easy platform to get set up, and you can, invite people to come to the gig, and they can pay a real minimal amount, but they also have the ability to, while you're performing, they can tip you, or if they want to support you in that way. So I've done 5 shows so far. They were really successful. So I'm basically in a pattern where I'm doing 2 shows every Saturday. So this Saturday at 2 p.m. Central, I'll do as much of the theme from A Perfect World record as I can. They kind of limit you to 50 minutes per session. And then in the evening, I'm going to do the Sgt. Pepper record at 8 p.m. Central. And so with all that, with the recording projects and that kind of ability to have a live audience has been kind of really good for me, because it's kicking my butt, because I'm having to learn a bunch of material that I don't play all the time. And there's fans out there that want to connect with us on that level. So it's something that I think I'll continue. Like when I reached out to Jarrett, he said he'd been doing this since 2009. So whatever gig he's at, he'll do a backstage or a sound check.
Oh, cool.
And it's another way that, like, every day you could be connecting with people, and they're happy. Like, there's different ways of doing this. There's Patreon. There's all these things, and it's all a way for your hardcore fans to have a way of supporting you, And I find they're very happy to do it. There are those that they may have gotten your music, they may have purchased it, they may just be streaming it all day every day for nothing. But when they have that opportunity to come and have a connection with you, with my live shows, they can have comments. I can be responding in real time. They can request tunes, and it's good for both of us. I'm having the opportunity to play the music that I want to play and express in that way, and they're participating, and they can just sit back and relax, or if they wanted to contribute, they can. So it's a pretty cool situation. It's helping out a lot. Like everybody, I lost, April and May was going to be all over in Europe, and so that goes away. But then thankfully, like again with this internet, there's such a, I've always called it a blessing and a curse, but it's turning out to be more of a blessing these days, because
we're using power for good and not evil, right?
Yeah, so there's that ability you're literally at everybody's desktop or doorstep or back pocket or whatever. And thankfully for all of us, because a lot of it's thanks to the internet, that our videos, made by us or not, somehow spread out there, and we have people that want to hear more and interact. So in that way, it's been kind of a cool thing, because it's getting me to embrace that more and to learn more about it.
I'm going to call you the Segway King now, then, because for those viewers who are out there, most of these guys have put up those links in the event. So should you choose to support by donating to them, you'll find some links in the original event for this.
How do you do that? See, I'm learning.
Drop
already there.
Drop your links, whatever, Patreon, PayPal, whatever you have, drop it in the chat, because I know you all have some pretty great fans, and
I don't know how to do that.
And being very supportive of everything. So.
Well, your website's on there, Andy. If they find
they can go to websites. They can.
Yeah, it's all in the comments of this. And let me interject before we get to Teddy real quick. Jennifer Young just texted me, and she does not have a personal Facebook page, so she couldn't comment. But she wanted to interject and give her love to everybody. Number 1.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, hi, Jen. And then number 2, she wanted to tell Teddy to stop slapping on the desk when he talks.
Oh man.
Wow!
I didn't detect any slapping. I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, that right there.
The first time.
All right, fine.
That was something else. But hello, Jennifer.
No, but I remember introducing Jen and Teddy. There's no animosity there.
No.
Walked right in the room, and she said, "Okay, I'll hug you too." And there we are. And there's this big hug, and there's the first introduction. So
they're both easy to.
That was perfect.
But she likes to keep things technically, like.
She wants it proper. I get it. I'll try to.
Producer Jennifer. Yeah.
Before we do that, somebody wanted to know, Andy, if that's a personal studio set up behind you.
Yeah, this is. I'm kind of on the set of where I do most of my instructional stuff. It's just my home studio. There's just a black curtain with my amps in front of it.
Perfect. Go for it, Teddy. What do we got?
Yeah, what have I been doing? Well, the last week I've been learning Premiere to make videos.
Ooh.
Nice.
I want to make I made my first one this week, and I kind of like it.
Is it available for us to see? Can we access it?
I guess I could give you a preview if I shared my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could do that.
Is this a world premiere then?
I don't want to play the whole thing because it's sort of like it's not really going to come out until like July. But hey, what the heck?
Give us a teaser.
Teaser.
It's a teaser, mate.
It's,
MTV World Premiere Video. Remember that?
That's what I do.
It's a hard 60.
Yeah, let's see if I can find it.
We all wait with bated breath on a Saturday night for that
That's
3-minute video.
Right.
Aren't you also working on some music there, Teddy?
Well, yeah, that's why I'm making a video. Before this all happened, me and my band, which is called No I'm Saying.
I like No I'm Saying.
No I'm Saying.
No I'm Saying.
No, I'm saying.
we were working on an album since December, and this happened, and we only had 9 songs. So the last song I wrote with this in mind, and it's called "Miss Dancing," like I miss dancing with my friends, you know.
Uh-huh.
And that's not the song I'm going to play you, but
I want to hear it.
and then I have another band called Lupustra, and I'm working on a record for that too. I have a bunch of material recorded from that.
Cool.
Do you remember playing Come Dancing, me and you?
Do.
For rock class?
In rock
In
class.
Miami. And we played in rock class.
Rock class.
Call me when you have no class.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Luckily, Teddy's the one guy that knows how to use this program, so he can actually pull this off.
Oh, should I do it?
Yeah, go for it.
No, we're waiting.
All right. Share screen. It's easiest with 2 monitors, so I won't be able to see you guys. And if you can't hear anything when you see the video, let me know.
Just start singing along.
But if you do hear the video, stay quiet because you'll
give us the live version. Yeah.
So here's my screen. I think you have to let me in, whoever the host is.
Oh, is that how that works?
Yeah. And then if you want to have it take over the screen, you have to push the solo button. So I'm backstage. My screen is backstage right now.
Meanwhile, a cat.
Oh, look at that kitty!
There he is.
What's
his name?
Thank you, Julie.
Who is it?
That's Cricket because he chirps all the time.
Cricket.
I think I heard a chirp.
Oh, Cricket.
The other thing I've been doing when I'm sequestered, quarantined, is talking to my stepfather, my 84-year-old stepfather, every day, which I never, I talked to him like once a week before, but now we talk every day for
Nice.
a half
That's
hour,
great.
45 minutes, because he's alone. He's got hardly any friends.
And where is
And
he?
he's about an hour and a half away, and I can't go see him because,
Yeah.
so I just try to keep him company in the mornings, and
Oh, that's great, man.
yeah, it's pretty intense
the
here.
best use of the
I
time.
really hope it doesn't get as intense where you guys are, but I'm afraid it probably will.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we're all learning from you guys.
Uliana's been real sick. I wasn't sure if you were aware. She's doing okay, Teddy, but
Oh, did she? Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
She's down in the village in Manhattan, so I can imagine a scarier place to be right now than anywhere in the New York City vicinity and being sick, and not knowing you really can't go to the hospital unless you're like, her doctor told her, unless you're like
Like really sick.
really, really bad.
You can't even get a test.
Yeah, I know.
Unless you're super, super sick. I have like 40 friends who've had it and haven't had a test.
40.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if I'm going to figure this out, Teddy, honestly, but I can imagine it would have been a wondrous experience.
Can you reenact it?
I might be able to play it, the sound of it without.
I'd like,
Sure.
unless Julie has something, I'd like to throw something out there.
I've got a few questions, but go ahead.
One of the things that came up the other night on our Q&A was the beginning seeds of starting a song when you're composing a song, and everybody always has different ways of doing things, and some people I know have an entire song in their head, and some people start with nothing. And so for myself, I tend to, I do this thing where I'll basically free form play guitar to a click track so that there's no time involved with it specifically. And I'll try and come up with some kind of a cool foundation, and that generally drives the rest of it. That if you come up with something hopefully interesting, then the melody will be driven by that. But I wanted to ask you guys, what was some, how do you guys generally try and start when I have, it's time to sit down and have a writing session? I'm supposed to write a song right now. Do you have a general method or madness?
Well, it's neat to have access to different instruments, because if I decide to start something on guitar, it's very different than if I decide to start something on keyboard. It's very, the results are always way different just because the instruments are so different. But I, like this morning, I woke up with a song in my head. So sometimes the stuff will arrive in a dream. Like I woke up this morning with a song called "I'm Paid to Bore You." That's
all appropriate right now, right?
I'm paid to bore you. I'm paid to bore you. I wrote down the words, which is a good thing because I can't remember now exactly how it goes. But because you'll wake up with an idea and think, I don't even need to write that down. It's so clear. It's so obvious. I'll remember it. But if you don't, it's hopeless. So, but that's something that's reasonably promising. And if, and the phone is full of hundreds of voice memos, weird ideas that show up while you're driving, just little vocal melodies. Yep. So it's all, most songs will just start with a little seed, a little module. It could just be a 5 or 6 note melody, or it could be a melody that's like, there's this insane song on Scambot 2 called "In the Trees." It's this 10-minute epic, and I remember the opening riff, which was it goes. That's the opening melody. That showed up while my wife and I were in a Target, and just like. You space out your what I'd give to be bored in a Target right now, but at the time, just like walking around, just trying to be anywhere mentally, and that melody showed up, and I said, "Give me just a second," and I walked over to kind of a quiet little area in the store with the phone, and I'm like, and that's seeing if anybody's looking at me.
Target, longtime creative place for many a progressive musician to come up with amazing songs.
Target, yeah, I know exactly. It's
lots of things happen at Target, doesn't it, Teddy?
Yeah, I think "Close to the Edge" was written at it in a.
Target is the birthplace of many strong ideas.
Right.
It's pretty much identical what Mike is relating. It's usually stuff that just kind of it presents itself, and there's various forms of documentation. Either if I'm in front of my computer, I might be working in Logic or GarageBand, but the cell phone memos or the bags of cassettes that one day I'll go through, there's all these little notes. Right. But usually if there's a melody or something that presents itself that you kind of recognize as being, okay, that's something I want to take. I want to develop that into something. Mm-hmm. But I've never been really disciplined as far as, okay, I'm going to sit down and here's what I'm going to do. I can do that. I find myself, as writers and improvisers that we all are, you probably do this too, but I was giving a lesson earlier, and people were asking me, well, what can I do to improve my melodic playing? It's something that I realized I was doing on a regular basis. You have luck in Target. I have really good luck in clothing stores that my wife shops in, because there's always this. There's all these cool vibey soundtracky things going on. And I'm singing melodies the whole time. Sometimes
meanwhile, trying to entertain yourself, right?
Yeah, but it's just a matter of, even if it's another tune, I'll always come up with some kind of counter line or some kind of melody that I think, oh, that would sound nice here. So it's always kind of exercising that I call it the auralect, what your ear wants to hear, the intelligence of your ear, that collection of stuff that we've learned and taken in over the years, and how it gets filtered through us in that library and how it comes out as us, right?
Yeah.
It's it's very much that. I think I wish I had the discipline to say, okay, I'm going to write a tune. And there's been times where there's a project that calls for that, and I can do it. But I really like when it just kind of comes, and then I can recognize it and go, okay, that needs that can be something. Let's work on that. But I'm constantly finding things that I may have even worked on to a certain fruition, and I'll forget it. I'll just because it's happening on a regular basis. There's some real strong things that I'll find sometimes, and like we all have this, I'm sure a desktop full of just stuff, but there's a lot that I need to complete and get out there eventually. So I'm a real good starter, and I need to be a better finisher.
I'm sure we will all leave behind vast swaths of unfinished snippets of songs.
Yeah, well, but organize them the best you can so people can enjoy them for all the years to come after when we're no longer here.
The vault.
The vaults of stuff.
I have a vault on my iPhone.
Sarah my wife has been actually cataloging my voice memos. She's been going through and saying, you should check this out, you should check this out, make a song out of that. And I have zero recollection of 94% of them. I don't remember them at all.
Because it's just coming from some other place sometimes, and if you don't have that documented, it is gone.
Yep.
You no memory of it, right? So that's beautiful that you have her to go through those.
Yeah, I know. I'm very grateful.
Hey, by the way, you should do something with this. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Teddy?
Yo, yeah, like everything you guys said, I do that. Usually it's in the subway or in the bathroom.
We're talking the sandwich shop or the transportation.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Or
how deep do you get with demoing and things like that? Like, do you? When you come up with an idea, is it a fairly, like when you take it to other musicians, I guess is what I'm asking, is it fairly defined before you take it to them, or do you generally not dig into the other players as much and let them do their thing?
Me?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll start with you.
I was going to say, the last thing I did, this new band, No I'm Saying, which is an old band, resurrected like Jesus on Easter. The way we wrote was we just all three were in a room and just invented stuff, and I would come up with a couple of germ ideas and then we'd develop it together, so it's really made for the band. And then there's been other times when I have other bands where I know that it's mostly improv, so I'll write something really small, like a couple of words and a couple of phrases, and just go, that's enough,
right?
We're gonna improvise around that. And then I've had other bands where it's incredibly complicated and orchestrated, and I'm writing for the people that are in the band. Oh, that person plays like this, so I'm gonna, write things that person would sound good playing. So, I think all those methods are valid and fun to do, and I wouldn't want to get stuck in any one of them. But I definitely have. Depends on the project, and I'll change up what I do.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
I guess sorry, what, Trav?
I was real quick. I was going to say, as a guy that's been in the same band for decades, and Mike, you could follow this. It actually, over time, it kind of helps to be a remote because you have more time to hone your thing by yourself and take it back after giving it some thought. But we started in a room like Teddy just discussed. But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yes. Similarly, the guys in my band Beer for Dolphins, we've been playing together for a long time now, and I tend with those guys to want to have the music really, really well developed before I present it to them. Part of that is just because Joe Travers, the drummer, would have very little patience with me if I didn't. He really wants to know exactly what he's expected to do.
That's the 30-year in a band thing. That's what I'm dealing with. Yeah. It's
so with some groups of musicians, you can be more experimental, or like with this album that I'm making with this local group, Back to the Garden. They're very supportive of this idea of us just showing up in the studio and me writing stuff on the spot. And it can even be like, okay, I just write the verse progression and then we record a few takes of that. And then I'll write a chorus progression. We'll record some takes of that and glue them together later, So there's just various ways to assemble things. But certainly for most of the stuff that I've recorded with Beer for Dolphins and with other bands or solo albums, the stuff is really well demoed out and organized, or at least I can like play a representative version of the song from start to finish, usually before we get into it. And that's one of the things that I am looking forward to doing during this upcoming new phase, where I'll be recording some stuff that is meant to be finished recordings, but I'll also be recording other things that are intended to be demos for the other people to fill in, and for, you know, eventually I want to get back into the studio with Beer for Dolphins when that becomes feasible, and I'll be demoing stuff for that project. Yeah.
Cool.
Go ahead.
My question before we get to Andy, if you have a response for that, because there's been a really an unusual amount of chatter over here about the lawn darts behind you, Mike.
Oh.
You call them jarts.
I thought you were the youngest. Who are you planning to kill on the other side of the garage?
Well, I don't have a lawn, so there's no real danger of anyone being injured.
I was.
You should see the target he has in his playroom, though. It's amazing.
That was a gift from a friend of mine that I went to high school with, who actually was born in England and brought them with him from the UK. And a few years back, he made a gift of a bunch of, it's really interesting, like 60s era British stuff, like the original Monopoly game from then, and which is very different from American Monopoly. And amongst that stuff was lawn darts, which I guess that's contraband, because I maybe that they're not legal in the States or something.
Yeah, I think they might be outlawed. Yeah.
So somehow he managed to sneak them into the country. Maybe it was before they were outlawed. So I guess maybe I shouldn't be broadcasting them so openly.
Contraband, yeah.
But anyway, that's where that came from. My dear friend Gavin.
Beautiful.
And I've got my.
Okay, let's take some questions from the peeps.
Radiohead drinking vessel.
All right.
Yeah, I got one for Mike that's being held onto for a little while here. Have you ever considered doing a children's album with what I'm assuming is They Might Be Giants?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Yeah, I mean,
someone's asking if you've considered it. I don't know how you go about that, but
yeah, I've considered collaborating with Wayne Shorter and Neil Young as well. I've considered joining Paul McCartney's band, but I don't think I'm the only one calling the shots there. But yeah, I would be. I love They Might Be Giants. I'd be eager to collaborate with them on anything, whether for children or older people.
Eddie, we know a guy who knows a guy, right?
But children become older people, so it's just.
That's true. Like the 7 Up film series. Every 7 years, I'll make a new album for them.
Mike, there's a question. How did you meet Rick Mccallum?
Oh, he actually had. I was playing in the '90s with the singer named Rob Valier, and then I went off on the road with Steve Vai, I believe, and while I was gone, Rob wanted to do some shows in LA and hired Rick to replace me. And then when I came back into California, and I went to see a Rob Valier show, and I heard this guy Rick Mccallum playing what had been my parts and preferring the way he played them, and so. Initially, I don't think we spoke then, but because I had other friends, I think Joe Travers was playing drums in that band as well. So we just ended up at some parties and stuff at the same place. And he always the way he came off on stage, he seemed like kind of a tough guy. He had this kind of energy to him that I thought I was a little unnerved at the thought of talking to him. Which now, of course, anybody who knows Rick would understand how absurd that is, because he's like the sweetest person on the planet. So eventually, I got talking to him at one of these parties and told him how much I enjoyed hearing him playing the parts that I'd been playing, and he had very nice stuff to say about what I had played, and we just instantly hit it off on a personal level. And then he was such a great guy and such a great player. It wasn't that much of a stretch to invite him to start playing my stuff. And so I gradually just showed him a few of my tunes, and he started sitting in with Beer for Dolphins and more and more an essential part of the band. And now he's just, he's a very, very crucial ingredient in what's going on with Beer for Dolphins. I just love him so much.
It's funny, I've had privilege of being out with you guys several times, and it's, if you close your eyes sometimes, he does such a great job of being you when that's what's called for.
But he does it in a way, whereas I think there's always like an edge and this sort of like angular thing to my playing, and he smooths that out and turns it into this soulful. It's like I think that our playing really, really complements each other well, and he's just an incredible addition to the band. But I just think that when he joined, all of a sudden there was just that much more soulfulness and that much more heart. Because I came from the Zappa thing, and there's a certain edginess to that, and a certain cynicism to that, and Rick is just all love, so it's a really great addition.
We've got a question for you to start, Mike, but then a follow-up for everybody. What's it like touring with Devin, and for everybody else?
Yeah, guys, what's it like touring with Devin?
No, for everybody else.
Andy and I had a road crew guy named Devin, so.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Devin.
Remember Devin?
Everybody else, who's your favorite artist or band to tour with or open for or play with?
All right.
Anywhere in the career, but specifically to you, Mike, it was, and you can answer both parts if they're not.
Okay, well, I mean, that was my last interfacing with society was just about a month ago when I was out on the road with Devin, and then we collectively made the decision to call off the tour and fly home, which and then 2 days later all tours were getting called off. But it was like, it was such a, obviously we all knew it was the right thing to do, but it hurt because I love playing Devin's music, and I love Devin as a guy, and there's a perfect example of somebody who might come off as kind of intimidating and a bit daunting, but once you scratch that surface and get to know him a bit better, he's an incredibly sweet and very emotional and feeling person, and those shows are so deep emotionally, and the audience is incredibly supportive. And Devin has been through so much in his life and his career, and he's shared all of that with his following. And so when the audience comes to see him play, it's not just people coming to see a show; it's like people that are like there to show support, and it's a deep emotional connection both ways. So those shows are huge, and the touring vibe with him is just so much fun, and after, since the 80s, it's about 32 years now that I've been touring, and the tours that I've done with Devin have just been like the most purely pleasurable, least tense, just like no weirdness, and it's just great, so I love touring with Dev. We lost Travis, didn't we?
Yeah,
Yes, we did.
Travis has left the building.
How about Teddy and Andy? What about you guys have played with a lot of different folks and toured and different things. What's been your favorite experiences?
Oh, should I go? Selfishly, my own band, of course. I mean, I've been blessed to have, Mike Dane, the bass player in my band. We've been playing together since 1988. So we've had a good history together. Our current drummer, Rob Absharian, it's just good people to start with. And that's always been kind of the key to any successful tour is, it's the 2 hours on stage, but it's the other 22 hours. Do you resonate with these people or not? And it's great to hear Mike talk about his experience with Devin. I've been around Devin, not professionally as much as just socially, but yeah, we really hit it off great. I could see traveling with him. He is an intensely funny, smart guy, but very warm and yeah. Once you know him and you spend some time together, I don't think I've laughed that hard in my life. It was myself, There was a couple of breakfasts at Nan with myself and Daniel Steinhardt and Devin, and oh my God, we every time we see each other, we still kind of bring this particular moment up. But it's down to that, and there were certain. I've had some significant offers along the way, career-wise, to join bands that I instantly turned down, just because that's not going to be fun for me. If just judging either, obviously musically, you have to love what's going to be happening, but man, if there's going to be any issues with personalities, why the hell would you leave home?
I got to say, as personally, as a big Menudo fan, I was like crestfallen when you turned down that offer.
Not many people know this about the Menudo thing, and I don't want to. I'm not here to name drop, but
they wanted him.
And I did one Barney record, but that guy's is a purple. I mean, you could just fucking.
She's a big purple jerk.
Anyway, but so, yeah, I mean my own band just because it's my heart, it's my music. Love touring with Simon Phillips doing his thing, but it's a whole different mindset musically. Love him dearly, and I was always happy to get home and play a shuffle after that, though. I work, with Olivia. Exactly. That's a Jimmy Earl quote. I can't wait to get home and play a shuffle.
That's great.
Anyway, but I hold most really fondly my time with Olivia Newton-John for that pure reason of I just loved her as a person.
Yeah.
And again, there was all these other rock gigs that were coming across my place. Like, why would I go do that when I've got this great person that I love working with? And still, so I just whatever enables me to keep doing my own thing. But more as years have gone, now it's I'm happy to just kind of be purely doing my own thing largely. And so that's I think what we all hope to do at some point. Travis, potty break.
Travis,
I'm running off my iPhone now. Apparently, my interwebs crashed.
Oh no! Well, good to have you back, mate. Well, we would just discuss the secrets of life, and I'm glad we all got there together. And Travis, you'll have to watch the video later. So, yeah.
Yep.
Teddy, on to you. Your favorite gigs.
I have a question from Anuj Aurora. It says, Teddy, do your pedal product demos get your A material? Because it's pretty damn awesome. Huh. Well, thanks, Anuj. And let me tell you something. Every single thing I do gets my A material. Mm-hmm. I give it my all the time. There's no other way to operate, is there? I mean,
why would you?
I try to do a good job. It's a pedal demo, so you have to show the pedal. So you're writing stuff for the pedal, not for people to listen to necessarily, but for them to like what the pedal does.
It's still just music coming from you, though. Even when it's for a different thing, don't you find that no matter what, it's driven by the same thing? You're trying to create something that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I don't do a pedal demo unless I love the pedal. That's the first thing.
Well, there you go.
So if I love the pedal and I go, wow, that pedal's really cool. What can I do with it?
Exactly. So and in that moment, that's
my band right there.
Yeah.
And it's like every guitar you pick up, every pedal that you play through, it is going to inspire you to do. If you're digging it and resonates with you, it's going to inspire something unique at that time. So
that question has been clarified with, just trying to point out how brilliant they are. So making sure you're aware that was a compliment question.
Nice clarity.
I'm just reading off the screen.
Anuj is a very good dude too, and I did see him mention that he gets most of his musical inspiration in the shower, which I did a song called "Them Dolphins Is Smart," and that particular melody actually emerged from the shower head.
Nice.
I remember it very clearly that and it's a weird melody that goes. But I heard that exact melody during a shower.
What kind of shower head was it? Was it a Moen or was it a? Because I want that shower head.
Do you find that the different shower heads drive more angular tunes versus more maybe streamlined tunes?
Maybe depending on the water pressure at the time. Is the washer going at the same time? Is somebody else taking a shower?
Well, I was completely unaware of any other input from any other location. That was just it was one of those moments.
My father's Dodge in the 70s, the seatbelt played All the Things You Are.
No, that's cool.
then it would stop.
That's fantastic. Oh. And that was my mom and dad's like their song. That was their song.
Oh yeah,
All the Things You Are. So
that's a good one.
I'm really even going to cop to knowing or to admitting that I know this and I don't know the song, but one of the Bee songs was written by the rhythm going over a bridge in Miami.
Barry Gibb, I've heard him tell that story.
Yeah,
it was jive talking. There was some bridge on the way to the studio where they were working in Criteria.
Yeah,
and he's sitting there playing with the, he's got an open E chord. He's playing on the one finger.
So cool.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that heard that. So.
No, not at all. I'm a big Barry Gibb fan.
All right, so you've had time to think about your touring, so.
My touring?
Yeah. And who,
so it's a question: your favorite tour or favorite touring experience, kind of thing.
Well, we kind of did an end run on Teddy answering this question about who his favorite artists were to tour with or play with along the way.
Well, two of them are right here, right now.
Wait a minute, hang on. We got Teddy first, then we'll let you in.
Okay.
Oh, I have to go first. Well, I've never really been a big touring guy, so I did a tour in 1986 with a band called Rare Silk, and we toured all over the place and opened for miles at the Jacksonville Jazz Festival. And then I didn't tour for another, I don't know. I'd go out on little tiny things here and there, but nothing long like you guys do. Until I started playing with Joe Jackson in 2015, and then took over my life and in the best way possible.
I didn't realize that there was that much time going without any, serious concentrated touring.
Well, I was never really interested in that unless it was, I don't know. I was always more interested in the studio. So I did that. But, I think after like 2007, 8, 9-ish area, touring became attractive to me. It just became like, okay, that's something else I can do. That's fun.
Right on.
Like finally I knew how to work Pro Tools really, really well. So there's nothing else to learn there.
I'll be calling you tomorrow then.
Please do, yeah. I'd love to help.
It's funny because one of the reasons that we all deal with Blue Mouth is we kind of have a rule. I've been one of the early guys with Blue Mouth, and the rule is we have to love the people as much as the music.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I've had the pleasure of going out with both Mike and Andy, and both amazing, sweet, easygoing guys to tour with. It's always a pleasure. It's never a hassle. There's no stuff to deal with. So touring with both these guys right here have been two of my fondest experiences. The early adventure.
Before you move on, let me just quickly interject to say that touring with you and your band is always unbelievably cool in every way imaginable, and it's downright, it breaks my heart because one of the last things that we were talking about after X Jam was let's do another Beer for Dolphins Travis Larson band tour, and I'm so into that. I do definitely want to return to that. So when we can, I guarantee that it'll happen.
Yeah, we're definitely, and same goes with Andy.
Because you have so much experience and the music's great, and all three of you guys are just awesome musicians and people. So yeah, those were very good experiences, and I concur with Mike. We'll do more. So
right on. Very easy. Well, I still have your rig here, Andy. We got to do the West Coast someday.
Took my rig home. Yes.
But I was going to say, in addition to touring with other people,
a long time too. That was Julie at Julie's house.
Yeah, right.
I remember that.
In addition to touring with other people, my fondest experiences were always kind of the first things. So, for instance, before we had enough momentum to be able to drive across the country, we would fly to the East Coast, and we would kind of just do little short runs of maybe a week or two. And so a lot of that kind of stuff, like the very first time you fly and play New York, and you play, things like that, where you've been hoping to do it for years. So, and that goes back a ways. But when we were doing those kind of things in the early stages, those are always great experiences. And then as you get older, I will say the experience only gets better because you're less and less afraid of the train wrecks. And Mike and I have experienced one of our most memorable train wrecks ever, where we had a gig booked at the Iridium and a whole bunch of stuff happened. and we had to book this hole in the wall through a friend of mine. It was just the only gig we could book with 4 days notice.
That was a lot of fun.
It was fun once, as Mike likes to say.
And it was a great night.
It was a blast.
I remember having to convince that promoter that because she was used to people booking the room and having their 3 school pals show up.
Exactly.
And she was very concerned all day long. Will anybody show up? And the
they
place
had no idea who any of us were.
Yeah.
She was absolutely like, I hope you guys are bringing your friends because, oh man. and we'd already sold out the Iridium gig. So anyway, this place, you could literally stand in the middle of the stage and touch both walls.
It was
like in the entire venue. It was just a hallway. And it was like a 3-tier stage. So we called it the stage cake. And we had the drummer in the back, the bass player in the middle, and Mike and I would be in the front for our respective sets. And so that was one of the most memorable and fun, crazy, hot, sweaty, ridiculous. We had to park on the sidewalk because they were doing construction. So it was a 1-lane road in Manhattan. And I had to park the van on the sidewalk to load out. Like we couldn't even park. And we were hoping none of the cops would come around the corner, So those kind of things, as Neil Peart used to say, adventures are never fun when you're having them. But that was actually a really fun night, and I had some great.
It was, but at the end of the night, when the promoter had been convinced that we were okay, and she was like, "Oh, we have to do this again," and we're just like, "Bye."
Dance, lady.
Oh man.
Good.
Should we see out a fresh question? I'm going to try and get back on my real internet, so if I lose you for a second, don't worry.
I'm going to hit Teddy up for a question here.
What do you got, Julie?
I would like for you to explain to some of these fine folks a little bit of the construct of Lupustra and what that involves and who that's involved along the way.
Well,
you're on the spot.
The construct of it is I wanted to have a band with 2 guitar players, and I couldn't find anybody who would just play rhythm guitar. So that same week that happened, the Boss RC50 came out. So I got one and I started looping and just made myself into my own rhythm guitar player. But then it evolved and devolved over the years, and it started with my friend Matt Miller and a guy named Frank Scavone on bass in Matt's basement, and we stayed there for about 2 years until I figured out how to actually really do it. Because it's pretty involved. Like it takes a lot of figuring out. So then we got a steady gig every week, and we just kept at it. And then one day Matt couldn't make the gig, so Sean Pelton did the gig from Saturday Night Live, the drummer. I was like, well, that was kind of fun. Maybe I should have different people do it all the time. And Matt was a busy guy, so we had different drummers, different bass players, and that ended up being the theme of the band. Is that I just keep kind of reinventing the material with all these musicians in New York who are fun to play with, that some of them I never get to play with, so it's really cool to have that rotating thing.
How many years did you do that residency?
The first one was at Nightingale's on 2nd Avenue and 13th Street. It used to be a really cool bar, and then it changed into this weird money laundering kind of bar. And I don't even know why they gave us a gig there. It was very strange. They used to have the TVs on all the time, and I'd bring a universal remote and turn them all off before the gig. And then they'd go, "How did the TVs turn off?" I go, "Hi."
That's awesome.
Then we did that for about 3 years, and then I moved to Rockwood Music Hall, and I did that for about 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And what was the question?
Yeah, that was it. How many 8 years at that?
It's about a 12-year run, including the basement.
How many different musicians do you think you had come through and play those gigs with you?
Well, they're all listed on my website. I'd say probably about 50 of each instrument.
Wow. 50 of each instrument.
Wow.
50 drummers, 50 bass players, and keyboard players. Once in a while I have a keyboard player instead of bass, so.
You had some horns or something one time, didn't you?
Had horns sit in. Andy sat in once.
Was that a tune, as I recall? I think I had a gig at the Iridium and came straight there, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Nice.
I remember Brian Beller being very excited to play it.
Brian Beller was amazing.
House.
He was incredible.
Yeah. That's cool.
It was great.
So the audience would like to know, what are you most excited to be able to do after we kind of go back to whatever our new normal will be when the cloud lifts?
Speaking from the first round position here, I will say touring with Andy and Mike is high on my list.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, finishing a record would be great, but the real fun of that is going out and playing it, and so playing with those guys. And if we can get Teddy out on the road at some point, that'd be a lot of fun too.
I'd love it. I'm really boring on the road. You'd probably like me.
Yeah, everybody calls me the milk drinking rock musician. I mean, these guys will test the fact.
It's such a blessing, man. It's that sort of like reliable presence on the road, which is an insane environment. It's like, oh boy, it's very comforting.
That's why you're welcome to go stay at my parents' house.
Low drama.
So
I strive to be as boring as possible when I'm on the road.
Make apple pie.
Well, I mean, we had the second half of the Devon tour was postponed when we all had to fly home. So I'm real eager to finish those dates, which they actually have maybe optimistically rebooked for later this year. So we'll see whether that's able to happen. And it was just announced a couple of days ago, because I also play with the other ex-Zappa musicians in a band that we're just calling the Zappa Band. Last year we did the hologram tour, but lately we've been doing shows without the hologram, just playing. So we were supposed to be opening for King Crimson in North America this summer for 6 weeks. That obviously has been canceled. But they have rescheduled those dates for exactly 1 year later. So I'm hoping that a year from now, it's possible for us to go out and do gigs. So I'm real eager to because obviously that was going to be an unbelievable experience to go out and open for Crimson. So I'm excited about that happening. But more than anything, just a few nights ago, April 9th and 10th, I was supposed to be playing at the Big Potato with Beer for Dolphins. And I've done a million shows at the Big Potato with Beer for Dolphins, and it's always a beautiful vibe there. It's a small room. If you're lucky, you can stuff 100 people into this room, and it's just people that are incredibly supportive and there just to really listen. There isn't a whole bunch of selfies going on with the stage in the background. It's people sitting and really paying attention, and I love playing there. So, and we were getting ready to premiere some new songs, and I was really excited about these gigs, and we weren't able to do them. So that's a beacon. That's a thing that I'm really like aiming at with my heart is being able to do those 2 nights at the Big Potato with my band. That's like, that excites me more than anything.
That's awesome. Yeah, the first set of shows that got canceled or postponed for me, I was doing a handful of dates with Daniel Steinhardt. It's going to be that pedal show tour where he and Mick have a band, and they were going to bring me over. And our first gig was going to be at the Cavern in Liverpool. I was like, I've never been to Liverpool ever as the Beatle geek.
No, that doesn't make sense, Andy.
I know, it's like that's going to happen, right? So, and y'all know Daniel's like, okay, Mike, I've got the best tour booked. The first gig is at the Cavern. I teared up. I read the text and was talking anyway. So those are, like you say, optimistically rescheduled for September. I hope they happen. My ATB European tour has been just set, a year after in May. So hopefully we'll get to go in May. So it's just the social interaction in general that I greatly miss. Like I said, I'm doing these live stage it shows, and it's the most bizarre emotional thing, because even if I'm playing to track and I've got headphones, I'm going to put the same energy and passion into the music as I can. But as soon as you stop playing, you might see a little scroll over here, but it's just dead silence. It's the most. Usually, you're getting some kind of feedback or something. So I miss that interaction. I just dearly miss going to my favorite Mexican restaurant and hanging out and having a basket of chips, and there's these, and going to Target without being deathly afraid of everything that you touch and wiping off everything that your son is going to touch, and it's all that stress and concern. I don't know at what point we're going to get to really let go of that. And maybe we shouldn't, but at the same time, hopefully we can somehow start coexisting in a social manner. But again, aren't we learning? Look at what we're doing now. We would have been doing this otherwise. And
that's right.
Here I am sitting with people that I love and admire, and so
I do love you.
And yeah, and so it's there are blessings in this. So I see so much positive, but there are those things that we miss from our prior normal life that I think we all greatly look forward to getting back to some semblance of normalcy. We shall see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sufficiently worried. That's what I keep thinking.
What's that?
I keep thinking that it's important to be sufficiently worried about this thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
You don't want to underestimate it, but you don't want to freak out.
You just want to be. You want to be smart.
Exactly. Well, that's just it. Intelligent caution. It's like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Related questions to that. One of them I'm going to read because it could only be written by the one and only Skippy. Mike, he's the one who did the holy shit shirt art. He says, hey, question, in the era of simple, flashy, easy to digest online content, general information overload, and rapidly shortening attention span, do you ever worry that instrumental, prog, non-mainstream music will lose its appeal because it'll become something too hard to digest for non-musician listeners?
Well, that assumes that it has very much appeal to start with. I think it's always battled that. But I also think that there will never not be a portion of music lovers and listeners who seek it out for that very reason, because they're not getting fed by what just normally comes down the pike and is the easiest stuff to find. And I think that there will always be listeners who will search out, just in the same way that back in the 70s or 80s, if you went to a record store, they would put the most mainstream and easy to digest or whatever stuff in the front. And if you wanted to find the weird experimental stuff, you had to go digging. Mm-hmm. That has always been the case, and it always will be the case. And I think that in a weird way is part of its appeal. You'll see that if an experimental or progressive artist starts to become too popular, that a lot of people get resentful of that fact. So I think no matter what happens, human nature is human nature. And understandably, there's a reason why very popular music is very popular. It has, there are aspects to it that are extremely appealing, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's like people will always enjoy a good beat and a readily assimilable melody, and people also like things that feel kind of familiar, something that reminds them of something that they enjoyed in the past. Yeah. Because music to some degree is a drug, and different people have different ways of feeding their habit. But I just was a weird kid, and from the very earliest stages of me being into music, I always liked unconventional things and information-packed things and unpredictable things, and just stuff that was out of the norm. And I don't really see that going away, and I even see aspects of that filtering more and more into popular music as it goes. And if you look at something like, something that was hugely popular a few years ago, To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, it's like the most insane, experimental, ridiculous music imaginable. Practically, it is so demanding, and it is hugely popular, you know. So I think that in some ways this flag that experimental musicians have flown over the years has been really successful, and aspects of it have really filtered into mainstream entertainment. And that's enough on that topic from me.
Yeah, I mean, Missy Elliott is pretty. You know, I love her album, Super Duper Fly, but she's pretty avant-garde too, right?
Right.
Yeah,
it's true.
So many aspects of pop music that's pretty avant-garde.
For sure, and it's that like proves what I think is a true thing, which is you can get away with just about anything as long as the groove stays pretty steady. Right. You know, you can and the textural and melodic and harmonic and sonic stuff that you can put on top of that gets more and more out as time goes by, you know. And I think people who think that there's nothing interesting happening in popular music probably just haven't tuned into the right stuff.
I think that's also to do with the gatekeepers, though.
Of course, yeah.
Gatekeepers of what gets to be pop music now.
That's true.
You know, the Dixie Dregs were playing huge arenas when they came out, weren't they?
Yeah.
I mean,
along those same lines, and feel free to feel that, but you know, how do you think that this whole COVID-19 experience is going to change the industry from recording, touring, reaching the artists, or reaching your audience, and that interaction? Maybe it's too early to tell some of that, but how are you already seeing that adjustment?
Should we start here, since I've been off the radar for a while?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a random thing. I mean, do you foresee that we're going to just snap back and forget that this ever happened, or are we, you know, on a
realistically?
path now?
I mean, we're all optimists, and that's why we do this. So I you know, like Mike, I think music is never going to die, and I think the live music experience can never die, because people are always going to be drawn together at some point in some form, right? But I think for a while it's going to be challenging. We're going to, even when they lift the barriers and we go back out and play, you might see some fear where people are a little bit hesitant to come out for a while, and maybe some slimmer than normal houses. But I would hope that at the end of the day, everything comes back and is as it should be, which is human beings being able to look each other in their pretty faces and connect with each other, and you know, not necessarily afraid to connect. And I don't think you can ever kill that. I mean, that's just my opinion. Even if it seems like we go through periods of time where that happens, there's always things that happen in the world that scare us. I mean, 9/11 was a thing where everybody was afraid to go out for a while, and any big congregation of people was going to be a target. And eventually, you know, all the creative people and all the good-hearted people out there that want to connect with other human beings just basically push that to the side. And you know, it's like they used to say, if you hide at home, the terrorists have won. Whereas right now it's a little different. The right thing to do is to do that. But that's also working together. Everybody trying to do the right thing right now. The more we do that, the faster we can get back to normal life, right? So
and you see it working too. You're seeing that curve flatten in some of these places where people are really adhering to it. So
yeah,
take note, whole country.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in New York, and guess what? That's not how it is. Unfortunately, if I go out on any day in New York, I will see 4 or 5 people walking together in a little group with no masks, and a bunch of other people walking around with masks going shopping, and there's all kinds of different people out there, folks. And
well, yeah, but I mean, we're still in the early phase too. We're still very early stages of this.
True.
And
even
I gotta, yeah.
And the other thing is, I think when this all ends, there's going to be the other people, the stir-crazy people who are just like, man, I got to go out no matter what. Who's playing? Prog music? Never heard it. Let's go.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
A comment by Jeff Burdick here. He says, feedback from the live shows can never be replaced. I agree with that.
Okay. That's
Well, it's because at home you can't turn your amp up loud enough.
Right.
We all have oxes down.
Yeah.
We didn't actually pick an end time on this. We just picked the start time. We're coming up on 90 minutes. I don't know where you guys want to.
That'd be a good time to start rapping, maybe.
Yo.
Well, my name's Mike, and I did. No, never mind.
And we're here to say.
I I never
What's up, man?
Hey, dude.
go check
I'm
out.
getting a little tired.
Yeah, Stumpy TK. Stumpy TK.
My vision isn't really clear anymore. I don't know why.
Well, while you guys are all being stir crazy silly, I'd like to remind everybody to go check out the
Wow.
Who that?
artist websites. All those links can be found in the event. They've got merch. They've got donation options. Travis is going to get in the game.
You guys have a Mr. T in my pocket. That's what I want to know.
Oh, I wish.
Getting the food doesn't have a Mr. T in his pocket.
Exactly.
First name, Mr. Middle name, period. Last name, T.
Where's my quirky stuff, man? I got nothing to bring to the party here.
Andy's the coolest guy in the room.
Andy, your place looks like a rock stage.
You're not the only one with two cats, Julie.
That's where you make videos, right?
Yeah, this is where I do the guitar.
If we do this again, I expect everybody to have beards.
You know,
My cat.
Doing that.
I do have a beard. You just can't see it. I'm blonde. It doesn't really.
How's that, Travis?
Oh, there it is. Nice cat beard. That's kind. Skinny beard.
So yeah, just to say a few words, I'd like to say number one, Julie, to reiterate what Julie said, we are all kind of stuck in a weird situation right now. So people out there supporting musicians, God bless you, and thanks so much for allowing us to do what we do, and help keep us able to do that. And also, just again to the guys in this virtual room here. I could not think of a better hang, and this is what the whole BMP X Jam thing has been all about. And at some point, we got to get Teddy out on the road with us because
That'd be awesome.
he's the missing part of the equation.
I'm grateful to be
He's the
here.
X
and
factor.
I
So,
love that we did this.
now
Yeah, this is great.
we got you dancing on the X Jam stage. There's photo evidence.
Yeah, well, I didn't know those first 3 chords, so I had to do something.
And maybe to plug what we're doing coming up online in a row too. I just want to say every Saturday at 7 Pacific, Travis Larson Band is doing a Q&A. I know Andy is every Saturday. Tell us the times on that again, Andy.
I've been doing it. I picked a couple of times that seem to work for European and domestic. So I've got a 2 p.m. show and an 8 p.m. show on stage. That's Central Time. So this coming Saturday, whatever that date is, I don't know, but it's 2 p.m. I'm going to do a theme from A Perfect World, and then 8 o'clock I'll do the Sgt. Pepper stuff. So if you can, come.
Sweet.
And are you doing any web stuff yet, Mike? Besides
Not
talking
yet.
about,
I'm still getting my tech hang together, but the intention is to open up a Twitch channel where I'll be streaming whatever stuff I'm creating on Pro Tools in the moment, and then I just want to stream as I'm doing recording and sessions and stuff, just to let people in on that process. And then I'll be on Patreon, and I'm figuring out what my tiers are going to be there, but I'll be presenting a lot of material there. That's awesome. And then on Bandcamp, whatever my finished recordings end up being, I'll be hawking them over there. So there's so many different platforms available for the musicians to use, and now's the time, right? So
we're learning, right? We're learning.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to get deep, finally immerse myself in 21st century technology and get this stuff done.
And Teddy is at the forefront of musicians playing virtually, by the way, whether they can stay in time or not.
Well, yeah. Some days when we feel like it, at 6 o'clock, me and a bunch of my weird friends, we don't really make any attempt to play in time at all. What we do is we just embrace the latency.
You got to, right?
Play the
You should put an album out called Embrace the
We're
Latency.
recording every single one.
It feels on many levels.
There's some gems in there. Mostly not.
And then at 7 o'clock, you do what?
At what?
At 7 o'clock at the end of show, you do what?
Oh, we clap
Oh, nice.
for the medical and the essential people.
Oh, right. Nice.
Oh, that's
what we
right.
do, 'cause we need them so bad, man. I can't even tell you how important it is that Whole Foods is 3 blocks away and I can go there and buy groceries. Because you can't order on Amazon here.
There's no times available. There's no grocery stores with any times available to deliver anything.
Wow.
You have to go out. Anyway.
Yeah.
You'll find that out.
Our Whole Foods are doing a really good job of controlling the amount of people in the store and spacing it out. You know, they're doing a great job.
Are you like single file at Whole Foods?
Yes, they limit the amount of people that can be in the store at the same time, and once one person exits, they radio the other entrance and let folks in. So it's a really sparse population at any given point within the store. Works really great.
I'm really lucky because I went out of the January stuff that we were doing, planning on being home for so long that I already did my Costco hoarding. And so I have yet to even run out of toilet paper. I'm just here in the cave by myself, ready to go. And
because of your wisdom teeth, right?
So anything we're missing, Julie?
Not unless you guys have questions for each other or anything. I mean, this has been a lot of fun.
Well, let's save them up for the next time.
Thanks for bringing us all together.
Yes.
Love you guys. Look forward to the next time we can actually play in person and you guys can rip it up and have real life feedback in a room. And maybe we do something else like this again in the future. But it's great to see everybody.
You too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
you, Julie.
All right. Thanks to everyone in the chat too. Sorry for any questions we didn't get to.